there's not a life on Earth that's going to be untouched by this force, like, over the decades ahead.
Is there climate change? Yeah. Will it go back like this? I mean, will it change back? Probably. That's what I think.
People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth.
I wish you could go to Greenland, watch these huge chunks of ice just falling into the ocean, raising the sea levels.
And you don't know whether or not that would have happened with or without man. You don't know.
Well, you're scientists at NOAA
we have
NASA.
scientists that disagree with that.
The average American every year emits enough carbon to melt 10,000 tons of ice.
Jesus Christ.
So Obama's talking about all of this with the global warming and that, and a lot of it's a hoax. It's a hoax. I mean, it's a money-making industry, okay?
We haven't got much time left. We must act now. We are at war with our world.
Weather out west, hurricane-force winds have prompted urgent red flag fire warnings tonight in Southern California, where a new wildfire has forced tens of thousands from their homes.
Making sure that nothing is going to come down in the studio here.
And it is going for quite a bit, everybody. It continues.
This is a very strong
rattle
earthquake.
pretty strong here.
8:21 here on the air. We're experiencing very strong shaking. Wow. I think we need to get under the desk.
All right, we're going to go to break. We'll be right back after
we'll be right
this.
Back.
Wow.
For as long as I can remember, I've always heard the term climate change just be thrown around. But what does it actually mean? By definition, climate change is the long-term change in the average weather patterns that have come to define Earth's local, regional and global climates. Pretty self-explanatory, right? But during the recent pandemic, I found myself browsing through Amazon Prime and I stumbled across the film Vice, the Dick Cheney biopic. I was absolutely sickened to learn that it was him and his administration that rebranded the term global warming to climate change. Why? Because it doesn't sound as threatening, right? To us, the word change is generally a naturally occurring thing, so it seems to soften the blow of the true definition. But what if we were to call climate change a climate emergency, or a climate breakdown? Sounds a little more serious, doesn't it? As there's so much fake news and such a range of diverse opinions being thrown around, I really wanted to get to the bottom of what climate change really is, and how it's negatively affecting our planet, and what else can be done to reduce the chances of our world being destroyed. For that reason, I'll be speaking with Greenpeace activist Meg Allen and Nicholas Roberts from the University of West England to really try and grasp this topic. But before then, let's go on a quick journey.
O Earther, my planet, my brine, my shelter, let me extract your hidden fossil fuels. Let my engines burn in your biosphere. Let me detonate in your cavernous womb. Oh, let the wailing ship of my skeleton harpoon your ancient salty flesh. Let the callous chainsaws of my hands clear your old growth for trees, for timber. Oh, let my industry unlock your minerals. Let me fondle your fetish commodities until we reach the zone of uncertainty. O Earther, ravage me with your extreme weather, infect me with your diseases, if you must. Just let me exceed my take, my love, once more.
So we're here now with Nicholas Roberts from the University of West England and Meg Allen from Greenpeace. So guys, thank you for your time here today. To start things off, I just want to know, why is climate change such a threat to our world?
With climate change, which is a point that a lot of people make, when people say, it's a threat to the world will be fine. It's more about people, which is surprising, because you think ecology, conservation science, it's about the animals and keeping all that sort of thing together and in a healthy way. But really, if any part of the system fails and we fail, if we don't do something and we change something, then society, as we've come to know it in the last even 2,000 years, will end. People might survive, but at best it will be sort of like a Mad Max scenario where everyone's kind of dying out, we've all nuked each other, and we've got no food, and we're kind of living off scraps on a planet that can no longer sustain us.
So there's no hiding away from the fact that most of the damage that's being done to the planet is out of our control, as in people like you and me. It feels like a lot of the damage comes from the big corporations like BP and Gazprom. What are your thoughts on that?
No, you're definitely right. There was a study that came out that said that 70% of emissions is made by just 100 companies. So just 100 companies contribute to 70% of all the world's emissions. So all other companies, all other people only emit 30%. So you're right in that it is up to those big corporations. It is up to systematic change that has to come. But as consumers, we are the people that are allowing those companies to earn money and therefore continue to harm the planet.
You mentioned that we're still contributing towards 30% of our global emissions. If I can ask you, Nicholas, in your opinion, what can the 30% do to tackle this issue that really should be deemed as a climate emergency?
Honestly, the biggest things you can do, and this is outside of the stuff that's advertised, use less single-use plastic and buy locally. It's hard to hear, and I hate saying it, because as soon as you do say it, a lot of people think, I'm not going to listen to this person anymore. But we need to reduce meat consumption, meat and dairy consumption specifically. But really, if you're considering yourself a vegetarian, but you're still eating cheese every day and you drink milk every day, then you may as well eat chicken, not so much pigs and ungulates, which is sheep and cows and stuff, but it's because of the feed that we give them. But 74% of the soya that we grow is given to cows for feed, which is not their natural food, which is another reason why they produce so much methane, because if they eat grass, which is what they're supposed to eat, they actually don't release that much methane.
The problem with the meat industry is that because it's so overpopulated in that so many people eat meat, which is fair enough, that's what we kind of were told to do, eat meat, you get strong. But the problem is that because the demand is so high, companies are having to create space for farms, which means that's what causes deforestation, right? It's creating space for farms for cows or sheep or whatever to be farmed in. And then on top of that, they have to be fed, right? So they have to be eating something. So soya is a huge problem because it will get cut down or whatever to feed the animals, which therefore creates even more deforestation. So going on a plant-based diet or on a mostly plant-based diet is helpful because it allows for those farms to not be needed, or to not at least stop being created. If we stop now, then that's a starting point for sure.
On a more personal level, how does it make you feel when you learn more and more about what we're actually doing to the planet? Has it affected your life in any way? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it makes me not want to have children. Once you listen to the facts and the predictions that have been made over really the last 50 years about where we're heading, there's not really any denying that having a kid now will raise them into, you'll bring them into a world of danger and a lack of stability that we've known. Our planet will become more hostile over the next few decades. It's very much a guilt thing, and that's on me. I can choose not to feel guilty about doing nothing, but in a way that's kind of my choice that I've made. And I remember having this sort of image in my head of just my kids in the future being why did you let this happen? Why didn't you do anything? Like, I don't want to be too emotive with it, but it's sort of like, I thought about it and it's like, that could be a reality. And the way that we choose to eat food, like, if we don't make decisions to eat better food now, we won't have the choice in the future.
So, Boris Johnson recently announced that the UK is to speed up their target to cut carbon emissions. This sounds great as a headline, but how do you evaluate their approach to the whole issue?
Our government is not taking enough steps. It thinks it is, but it's really not. It's hard because in my head, I'm like, if we don't solve climate change, nothing else exists. If we don't do something about it now, there are no jobs, there are no people, there's like all our other problems, I think, come under climate change, purely because if we let climate change continue as it is, we're all going to be, gone by 2100 or something. This climate change is interlinked with every single part of our lives, and if we don't solve it, then that's it, that's the end. Because, like I said, once we reach these tipping points, that's it. Like, we can't go up into the atmosphere and rebuild it. So we need to take the action now. Because I think something our government hates doing is like investing money for something to stop something else happening, right? They just like to solve the problem when it comes about, and that's clear from the pandemic, right? They're just like, oh, just wash your hands. We're not going to spend any money on lockdowns or anything until we have to. And now, look at us now, a year later, still in lockdown. So I think that we need to invest now, or we'll spend billions later on building like sea walls so that we don't get flooded. Like, it's just silly.
Whether we like it or not, it's fair to say that climate change is something that could potentially end humanity as we know it. As this piece comes to an end, I want you, the listener, to reflect on how you're feeling once that final synth hits. Do you need to do more? Does the government need to do more? Regardless on your take, I hope you feel empowered and moved by this piece and become more thoughtful on what we are doing to our planet. They say a clean home is a happy home, so let's do our bit and tidy up this mess we've made. Thank you.